All right, so everybody's using big data now. A lot of big data applications getting into production, and people are using it for all sorts of things from ETL, reporting, machine learning, recommendation engines, fraud prevention programs, you name it. What we're going to be talking about is not those use cases, but how those use cases are made possible. We're talking about application problems. What happens when you have big data applications running in production, and the kind of issues that these big data applications have. So, a lot of common issues that we see around in a lot of customers that we work with is applications are not meeting SLAs. Ad hoc applications are just failing. Things are not performing the way they used to. My ETL query, for example, used to take 1 hour yesterday, and today took 4 hours for no apparent reason. We at Unravel are trying to help companies solve those kind of challenges. Unravel is a full stack performance intelligence tool for big data ops. And what we mean by that is we help you not only monitor, monitoring is providing you just graphs and metrics, but actually give you performance intelligence about what's happening in your cluster, what's happening with your applications, and what kind of inefficiencies or errors there are within them. So we help you uncover issues, which is root cause problems with your app or cluster in minutes, unreleased resources, which is optimizing your multi-tenant environment for the best performance. And at the end of the day, we help you unravel performance, which is guarantee all of your SLAs automatically. Unravel today supports your majority of the Hadoop stack. So we start from Hadoop, Spark, Kafka, Cassandra, NoSQL, Search, etc. And now I'm going to be handing it over to Jeff, who's a director of data at StitchFix, and he's going to give you a real-world example of how they built a big data infrastructure and the kind of big data applications that they're running, along with the kind of problems that they face day to day in managing these big data apps. Take it away, Jeff.
So, like Kunal said, I'm the director of data platform over at StitchFix. Previously, before that, a couple years ago, in a former life, I ran the data platform over at Netflix. So I've seen these kind of architectures and problems at both a big company and a smaller kind of startup environment. And so just briefly about Stitch Fix, it's a personal styling service that uses a blend of human and machine computation to figure out what you're going to like to wear. So we ship that to you. We make it very simple and convenient for you to have the best fashion that's trendy and in style with no effort from yourself. And we do that through a lot of machine learning and big data computation. So this is what our architecture looks like over at StitchFix, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you can see we're bringing a ton of data into our environment. Everything is deployed on AWS. S3 is the source of truth for all of our data. State data comes in every night through a pretty traditional kind of ETL from a bunch of Postgres databases, and then we've got logging data coming in through Kinesis streams constantly into the infrastructure. And so we're always transforming that, running jobs against it. There's a big production workload that we run on a combination of Spark and Docker containers running R and Python. And then a lot of ad hoc workflow as well that happens through a combination of R, Python, Spark SQL, Spark notebooks, and Presto queries. And so all of this is happening up here. And to give you an idea of the scale that we're running at, over the course of the last 2 years, we've grown our data platform from 6 people from when I joined to now around 70, 60 of those being data scientists that are working on these problems for us over at StitchFix. So at this point, we're sitting at around 3,000 to 5,000 jobs per day, which are running on a combination of, again, Spark and Presto, Spark on Yarn. We need to figure out, how to do that now as we get increasing adoption of Spark and more data scientists into the mix, more jobs into the mix. Figure out how to do that in a multi-tenant way, monitor those jobs for SLAs, and then figure out how to scale our platform for the capacity of 60 data scientists who all have crazy ideas and great things that they want to accomplish. So they generate a lot of ad hoc workflow, which is pretty unpredictable. And we need to figure out how to scale to that when it comes up and how to contract when it's not there. So how do we do that? This is very similar to a lot of the problems that we solved over at Netflix, now having to solve them over at StitchFix. The one luxury that I've had when I came to do that, well, two, I guess. One is hindsight, knowing what problems are going to come up at scale. And two is the luxury of being able to do this from the ground up instead of having to do it when jobs are already running on the platform. So these kind of three things are what I've learned is super important, and it's things that we're trying to build into the platform at StitchFix from day one. And the first thing I think is just key to making this usable and scalable to a large number of data scientists, and that's transparency. And so at any given moment on any job that runs on the platform, you should be able to answer the question, what happened and when, right? And if you can't do that, then you're going to be digging through logs and burning a lot of people's time on the data platform and ops side to figure that out. And worst case, if they can't figure that out, then you just have things that fail and break and you can't tell why. And you never want to be in that situation. So this is something that Unravel is great at, seeing those jobs through a lot of different technologies, how they stitch together end to end, and being able to monitor the metrics against them. And it's something that we're hoping they can help us out with tremendously. Another problem that's a little more specific to Spark, we use a lot of Spark and RDD operations, Spark and data frame operations over at StitchFix. And being able to transform that graph that basically gets generated from those operations into a logical and then physical execution plan of exactly what the Spark cluster did. So say you write a 20 to 30 line Spark SQL statement, that could generate a tremendously complicated graph of transformations of your data. And when that breaks, you really need a tool or some kind of visualization to see what exactly was going on. And so we've built that over at StitchFix. We call it Morticia. And it's tremendously useful for us to be able to go in and look at stuff. Another kind of tenet of the architecture over there is self-service, right? So in order to not have to scale your ops team to the size of your data science team, you really need to enable a high degree of self-service into the architecture. You never want to be a roadblock for the ideas of a data scientist. And frankly, the ops and the platform engineers have better things that they could be doing than debugging jobs in production. You really want them to be working on engineering to create these highly leverageable assets that are going to make things easier to use and more self-service instead of having to get bogged down with support. So you really want to make debugging and performance tuning easy. Again, that's something that Unravel is great at. You want to make access to the data as simple and intuitive as possible. So we do that through a tool called Flotilla over at StitchFix, spinning up Docker containers running Jupyter notebooks that are connected to our platform and clusters on demand. And you want to abstract the infrastructure and the storage from the end user. So they shouldn't need to know endpoints of clusters and details about what nodes are running where and how to set and tune parameters. It should just kind of happen magically for them. And third is a little bit of a unique challenge, or maybe I like to think of as an opportunity to running on the cloud, and that's elasticity. So in order to make the cloud a really beneficial and performant environment on big data applications, you really want to exploit the idea of being able to be elastic. You do that through decoupling your storage layer from your processing layer. So we run all of our data off of S3. There's no HDFS use over at StitchFix. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to spin multiple clusters up against the same data, and it allows us to scale those clusters up and down based on ad hoc demand. And so when we have good monitoring of ad hoc demand, we can scale up and down based on what's happening and when. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kunal to wrap
Thank
things
you,
up.
Jeff. To wrap it up, so what Jeff was saying is it needs to be simple for you to be able to manage all of your big data applications, whether it is the SLA-bound jobs or whether it is ad hoc jobs. And Unravel helps you do that in the simplest fashion. What we do, again, is not monitoring. We do performance intelligence, which is we will tell you what problem happened, why it happened, and how you go and resolve those problems every day. And if you guys would like to learn a little more, we have 2 booths, one at the Cloudera Pavilion and one at the back. And we have Caetano here, if he could put his hand up, passing around data sheets if you guys want to learn a little bit more. Thank you all for your time.